India ripping through Pakistan's disinformation at the UN on the killing of civilians and on the Indus Waters Treaty. And to discuss this, we have with us TCA Raghavan, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. Namaskar, sir. India has asserted at the UNSC that Pakistan has flagrantly violated the spirit of the Indus Water Treaty by inflicting 3 wars. And it also said that thousands of terror attacks on India, this also, this is also how it has violated the spirit of the treaty. Yet India has shown incredible patience and magnanimity and abiding by the treaty. Your comments on this enormous gap between India's big-heartedness and Pakistan's shocking duplicity and unprovoked aggression?
Well, thank you for inviting me. As is well known, the Indus Waters Treaty was intended to create an architecture of peace and cooperation between India and Pakistan. And while the treaty worked well in its technical aspects for a long period of time, it certainly failed in the larger venture of creating a peaceful bilateral relationship between India and Pakistan, largely because of the kind of foreign policy which Pakistan adopted towards India, and in the last quarter century, its policy of using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Apart from the terrorism factor, Pakistan also showed an unwillingness to work the Indus Waters Treaty in the spirit in which it was designed, because in the end, the aim of the treaty was to create a ecosystem of cooperation between the two countries where the Indus waters were concerned. And the principal approach of Pakistan was to object to each and every Indian project which were within the framework of the treaty. And this led to delays in project implementation and also created a certain amount of bad blood in treaty implementation. So over the past decade, the treaty was under a great deal of stress and strain. And of course, the major terrorist attack last month in Pahalgaon proved to be the final straw which snapped India's patience and has led to the treaty being placed in abeyance.
Sir, India also stated at the UNSC that Pakistan has consistently sought to block India's attempts to improve dam infrastructure to ensure greater safety of people and efficiency of water use. But Pakistan has blocked all such efforts, clearly showing its ill intentions. Would you agree that this is yet another instance of Pakistan's ill will towards India?
I think in part it is Pakistan's ill will, and in part it is a extreme lower riparian paranoia and anxiety, which is totally groundless. Because what Pakistan objected to was project designs based on latest technologies. The treaty is now over 60 years old, and obviously technology doesn't remain stagnant or stationary. Our effort was to build new projects which were more efficient, which would yield more energy, which would have less collateral consequences, and use the latest technologies. And Pakistan, over the past decade, we saw a persistent pattern of blocking any such project which tried to utilize new technologies. And this led to severe strain on the working of the treaty. And I don't want to go into details, but essentially, this whole dispute resolution stress which arose in the treaty was because of Pakistan's effort to block the use of new technologies in different projects.
Okay, India has also observed at the UNSC that senior government and police and military officials of Pakistan were seen paying their respects at the funeral of top terrorists killed in Operation Sindoor. Does the world need any further proof of Pakistan's sponsorship of terror?
I think most countries have a pretty good understanding of where Pakistan stands with these different terrorist groups. It was not so long ago that it was placed on the grey list of the FATF and faced numerous economic restrictions and sanctions. Most countries have a pretty good experience and understanding of Pakistan's long and somewhat bitter interface with terrorist groups. So I think the Indian position with regard to dealing with these terrorist groups in Pakistan is well understood and well known. I don't think there is anything new which we can say to that, because countries understand our position. Their concern arises when they see a military conflict emerging in South Asia because of both India and Pakistan having nuclear weapons. So the dangers of a nuclear flashpoint pushes the terrorism factor into the background, and our effort always has been to concentrate on the terrorism factor, because that is really the central issue. What we have seen over the past few weeks is a counter-terrorism operation by India, and I think the world understands that where it comes to terrorism, every country will take steps to defend its citizens and itself.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his nationwide address that blood and water cannot flow together, terror and talks cannot go together. Would you agree that this can henceforth be the only correct policy for India?
I think we need to recognize the centrality of terrorism in India-Pakistan relations. But what is also very evident is that Pakistan is a neighbor and it's not going to go away anywhere. In the end, we have to deal with it and bring terrorism to the center of our engagement with Pakistan. But that does mean that you have to have some engagement with Pakistan. We cannot continue in a situation where you don't have any dealings with Pakistan yourself, and at the same time we don't want third countries also involved in what is essentially a bilateral issue. Because we are the largest power in South Asia, because we are such an important global player, countries expect us to deal with our own region, engage with our own region, and to make sure that regional issues don't become international issues. I think we have to be conscious of that sentiment and frame a long-term Pakistan policy which goes beyond the short-term and the tactical.
Now, India is working to bring Pakistan back onto the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, the global watchdog on money laundering and terror financing. If that does happen, how do you see it will impact Pakistan?
I think it will have a bad impact on Pakistan's economy, as the last time it was grey listed. But we have to recognize that Pakistan is a large country. It's the fifth largest country in the world. It also has a certain amount of historical experience which it has built up in dealing with these international sanctions and international restrictions. In the end, many countries see Pakistan as a country which is deeply unstable, which has all kinds of internal contradictions, which have serious external impact. It sees a country where extremism and terrorism play a major role in domestic politics. And finally, it sees a country with nuclear weapons. So they don't want the prospect of Pakistan going down the tube completely. And that approach will continue to guide them, as we saw in the manner in which the latest loan for IMF was sanctioned, notwithstanding the seriousness of the terrorist attack which was carried out in India.
Okay, overall, Raghavanji, how do you see India's immense patience and forbearance towards Pakistan so far, in contrast to Pakistan's duplicity and naked support for cross-border terrorism?
I think we have shown patience, and we have made great efforts to build a cooperative and stable relationship with Pakistan. Because we are the largest country in South Asia, because we are the stable power, because we have a growing international profile, because we are a major economic force, that is a role which is forced on us and about which we have no choice. In the end, it is our responsibility to make sure that the region remains stable and does not and there are no situations which can lead to a major escalation or a major conflict. Countries expect India to behave differently from Pakistan. It may be a somewhat onerous burden at times because of the grave provocations we are subjected to, but that is a responsibility which we cannot shirk.
Okay, on that note, let's wind up this discussion. Thank you very much, TCA Raghavanji. One hopes that Pakistan comes on the table to counter terror, and this is only where talks can start. Thank you very much for being with us on DD India News Hour.